Hi there, this is John Barton from JB Cases. On the way to work this morning I thought I might try a couple concepts. These little videos I'm going to be doing is pool concepts taught in 15 balls or less. So the idea is to try to show you a concept using one rack of balls, and that way it's short for me and hopefully short and less boring for you. So here we go. I'm going to teach you the concept of aiming and cue ball control as how I feel that goes together, and I'm going to try to do that in 15 balls or less. So let's go. Okay, so here I have the easiest shot in pool to demonstrate, which is the straight in shot. And you can see the chalk line that I made here, straight into the center of the pocket from my vantage point. So easy to see, center of the cue ball to center of the object ball to center of the pocket, one straight line. All right, everybody can see that very easily. Now, what I want to show you is how aiming and stroke play a part in cue ball, what you do with the cue in whether you make this ball or not. So first let me show you the correct way to do it, okay? Obviously you lay the cue down on the shot line and you shoot straight through the ball. Watch the cue. Okay, so you notice the cue stops right on the same line as the shot, okay? Now, if I take the same exact shot and I get up here to shoot it, and instead of the cue going straight through the ball, it's going to swerve over. So I'm going to move my body as I shoot. Watch what happens to the 11 and pay attention to where the cue finishes. Okay, so as I come through, pay attention to where the cue is. So the cue ends up right of the line, the 11 goes left of the line, and the cue ball goes to the right. That's because what I have done is I have pushed the cue ball off the line of aim. So my line of aim is absolutely straight in, but what I did was, by twisting my body, I pushed the cue ball off, and so I missed the shot because I don't exactly hit the 11 right in the center. I hit it a little bit to the right of center, which sent the 11 to the left. Okay, so you can aim dead perfect and still miss the shot if you throw the cue ball off. So if you are here, even a little bit, even a tiny little bit, can throw it off. So that way I didn't hit very much off the ball and I still missed it. Okay, now, obviously this is easy for us because it's a short shot. We have a chalk line. Fairly easy to see that we've aimed right, correct? However, a lot of people, even with a simple straight-in shot, they can't see the proper aiming. They get up on here and they're just a tad off. So here, I'm aimed up at what I think is the right line, okay? But as I shoot it, you can see the 11 goes to the right or to the left here, because I was just a tiny bit off, just a hair off on the aiming. Even with a short shot like this, and a fairly big pocket, you know, it's 4.5 inches, but you know, you don't have much on each side. Even with that, just the tiniest bit of aiming off will send the ball and not allow it to make it. You see how I almost missed it right there, went right to the pocket. So, now let's get into, you can see how important that aiming is in this scenario. So the first thing you do is you want to aim correctly. The second thing you want to do is you want to execute correctly. Okay, so once you've decided on the aiming line, then whether you're right or wrong, you have to take the shot. Because now, the reason I'm showing you that you can throw a ball off is I'm going to teach you now how to throw a ball into the aiming line. Okay, so obviously here we have center to center. Now I'm going to move the cue ball off 2 balls from center So now I have a cut shot to the left. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to aim center cue ball to center 4 ball and shoot it straight into the rail, right here. Okay? Center cue ball, center 4 ball, straight into the rail. Clear, okay? Now, I'm going to aim center cue ball, center 4 ball, but now I'm going to make the 4 go in the corner by pulling it offline with a little bit of body English and a little bit of cue action. Watch. Now I'm aimed center cue ball, center 4 ball. Okay, you see where my cue ends up? And there I made the 4 ball. Let's do that again a little bit slower and see if you can get it. Center cue ball, center 14. I'm aimed right here, so I'll put a ball here. I'm going to put a ball right here so you can see where my cue stick is pointing. My cue stick is pointing directly at the 13. You see what I did with my cue? Swoop it in. So you notice that it's possible for me to not actually be aimed on this line. Let me show you the actual aiming line that you would need. Now for this we're going to use the ghost ball technique because it's easy to use to demonstrate where the aiming should be. Okay, so the actual aiming line here is where the 3 ball is. Okay? So this is the actual aiming line for my cue to come straight through and make the ball. So let's test it. So here I'm going to aim directly at the 3. The 6 is in the way, so the 6 should go in the pocket right down the line. Okay, let's do that again. I'm aiming directly at the 3, which is exactly where the ghost ball would be on the 15. And that will take the 15 directly to the pocket with an absolutely straight stroke. Okay? So, the reason I'm showing you this is because it is possible to aim wrong, okay? So not being on the perfect line for the 5, and still teach yourself how to make the balls. Because your brain is going to compensate. If you're aiming wrong, your brain is going to figure out from this wrong position, how can I make the ball? That's what's going to happen, no matter what. So as you practice, if you're not finding the 100% correct aiming line, if you're a little bit off, then you're going to learn to pull your cue a little bit. This is where body English comes from. You've heard the term, wow, that guy used a lot of body English. You know, he gets up there to shoot and he's like that. That was exaggerated, but you've all seen players do it. You see players that when they hit the ball, they twist this way or they twist that way. You know, all that comes from unconscious compensation for not aiming right. Okay? Because they're not aimed right, they already know subconsciously that they have to hit the ball a certain way to be sure to make it. Now, the problem with this is it cuts off your opportunities. In other words, if I'm looking at the 7, even with this little shallow cut right here, the fact that I aim wrong in the first place with no English means that I can only do so much with the cue ball. So people talk about, well, it's all about cue ball control. Okay, great. It's all about cue ball control. So let's assume for a moment it's all about cue ball control, and the next ball that you have to make is the 9 ball here. All right, or let's make it easier. The next ball you have to make is the 8 ball. So from this position, the only choices that you have to get to the 8 are go around the table or go into this rail and back over in here so you can get position. So you want to make the 7, bounce off the rail, come back here and try to get position on the 8. But if you're not aimed right, that's very difficult to do, to throw the 7 in and also use inside English to get to the rail and come back. Because generally when you're throwing the 7 in, when you're offline from here, the cue ball is going too far to the right. It's going to go too far this direction to catch the rail and be able to come back into here. Which means the best you can do from here is to end up somewhere in here if you try that shot, if you're aimed wrong. However, if you're aimed correctly, where you've got the perfect line right here with no English to make the ball, now that you've got that perfect line, now you can jump in with English and spin the ball. Sorry, I should not shoot when I'm talking. Now you can jump in and spin the ball down and hit the rail. Alright, I'm sorry. At this moment, I'm very sorry. I need to stop and get the shot, concentrate, and then shoot the shot. So you're going to see the right way, okay? So you get the line, you're dead on the line. Excuse me. So you're dead on the perfect line. Not this line, but this line, to make the shot with no English. Now you're exactly where you need to be. And you can spin down, catch the rail, and get shape for the 8, okay? Now, let's go back to that shot again and say, what if this was blocked and you couldn't get in here, so you had to get into this area, okay? So now, okay, everybody says, sure, I can come around the table. But where around the table, okay? Is it better to hit here, 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 and come to here? Or is it better to come, you know, here, very short, 2 rails in here? Do you know that? Well, here's again the problem. If you're aimed wrong, you can throw the 9 in, but that limits where on the rail you can send the cue ball to. So if I'm throwing the 9 in, if I'm aimed wrong and I'm throwing the 9 in, there is no possible way for me to land the cue ball here with draw English. I mean, it's not possible. Or it's very, very difficult. In other words, because you're using body English to throw the ball into the pocket, you have a very limited area where you can send the cue ball to, and it's unpredictable. Okay, but if you get the perfect line of aim, then you can predict and you can send the cue ball to every possible place willfully. Alright, so let's try this. So, willfully, here, I want to come long here. I want to bring the cue ball here, so I want to end up right about here, which means in order to go long, I need to hit right about here, let the cue ball come down here and float down here. So hopefully we won't scratch. Let's see what happens. Now I've got the dead perfect line of aim. My aim is here, not here. So I don't have to throw the 9 in. And I'm going to use a little bit of bottom right English. Okay, so here I came short, but you see the idea. Look at where I'm coming at to get in position for the 8, right there. Alright, now if I'd have come long, I'd have come in here, but either way I'd have been in. The worst case scenario would have been scratching. Right there, but I feel much safer doing it that way. Now let me show you what it looks like when you have to throw it in. Okay, now I'm going to aim straight through the 1 to the rail. So I'm aimed wrong. Okay, now you see here how I had to come up long here. Look at my target right here. If I shoot this ball straight from here, I'm tracking right to the corner. So it's unpredictable. I don't know. I had to do so much here to get the 9 to go in. When you're aimed wrong, you've got to do so much English and throwing to get the ball to go in that you cannot focus 100% on getting the ball to go to the spot here that you want. Now, what this leads to it leads to situations where you make the ball, but you miss position. Or you miss the ball, but you get position. All right, so let me show you that. Let's say that I'm aimed wrong and I want to get position down here for the 8. Okay, so I'm aimed wrong. Now I get my English and I'm going to try to throw this in. Oh, well, gee, I missed the ball, but wow, I got perfect shape. You hear that all the time from people. You know, they miss the ball and they say, oh, but I got perfect shape. You know, because it's difficult to throw the ball in and get your shape. So, the whole point of this is aim correctly from the beginning, then your cue ball control will be much better. So, what have I got left? I got 5 balls, 6 balls left? So, now I'm going to explain something about that and what I feel is a better way to aim. So, I talked about the ghost ball a moment ago, where I said if you put a ghost ball behind a ball behind this and it represents the impact point, that's called ghost ball, or as the English call it, dummy ball. Okay, that's the dummy ball. And this is a well-established way to teach aiming, okay, because on paper and on the pool table, it works. All right, so obviously if you replace the 13 with the cue ball and you get in that line, that's going to make the 3 ball. Okay, now for the purpose of the discussion, we're not going to talk about throw or cling, where when the cue ball hits here at an angle, it pushes the 13 or the object ball off a little bit. That's another discussion for another time. All I want to talk about right now is how to find the aiming line. Well, if you are at a relatively shallow angle, then that gets easy with the ghost ball, because you can see a nice full ball there. But the farther away and as you from the ball you go, and as you increase the angle, the harder it becomes to see and hold this ball, this imaginary ball, at exactly the position where you need to be. You see, if I stand behind the ball here, if I stand behind the ball, then it's fairly easy for me to see approximately where the ghost ball center would be and line that up to the cue ball and drop in on that line. That's fairly easy to see. Okay, but as I move further and further away from straight in, it becomes harder and harder to stand back here, see that ball, that point, and then walk over to the cue ball and hold that point exactly where it should be. Now, where is it? Is it here? Or is it here? Or is it here? You see? Standing here, I can see it pretty easily. Okay? I can put my cue down and I'm going to be real close to where that ghost ball center is. Close enough, probably, to make the ball. However, as I move around back to the ball, my cue is moving and I'm not sure, is it right or not? So, it might be right, it might not be. But, as I showed you, just being off a tiny bit, even on a straight-in shot, will mean you don't make the ball. Unless you throw it in. Okay? Unless you overcompensate for the fact that you're aimed wrong, that's the only way to make this ball. So if I aim wrong, and then my brain knows that I'm aimed wrong, and I use a little body English to throw the cue ball back into the right line, then I can make the ball. Okay, fine. What happens when you bring the cue ball all the way over here? Now you've got quite an angle to the pocket for the shot. You can probably understand how this magnifies. Every little bit of aiming wrong means that you have to compensate more with body English to make the ball. And compensating more with body English limits what you can do with the ball after you hit it, if you even make the shot at all. Okay, so obviously all of us would be, it would be awesome if we had an imaginary ball there every single time and we could see it just as if it was real. Okay, if you had a perfect combination there all the time, that would be great. Then nobody would worry about it, they would drop right in on the line and they'd be there. But the fact is that when you play pool, when you're in a game, you don't have an extra ball to use as a guide. You have to imagine it. There's all kinds of ghost ball trainers out there. There's pieces of paper and there's cards and there's plastic devices. You know, there's at least 2 dozen little devices that you can buy to put on the table to teach you where the ghost ball is. Okay? The company I work for sells one. It's called the Spider Laser Trainer. It's pretty cool. It works great. I think every training school should have one. You know, because it immediately shows the concept of the ghost ball, where to hit it, and it's neat and it works. Okay? But you can't use that in a game. You can't take your laser trainer or your laser pointer and set it up exactly where the contact point is. So, what do you have? Well, I got 6 balls here left to show you. If you've watched my videos from before, then you know that I advocate an aiming system called center to edge. Okay, there's a lot of similar aiming systems out there, but all of these non-traditional aiming systems, I call them non-traditional because I'm 40 years old. I've been playing pool seriously, I would say, for about 20 years of the 25 that I've been playing. And I didn't have any champions to mentor me. I didn't grow up on the road. So a lot of my pool playing knowledge comes from books, like Robert Burns' Standard Book of Pool. It comes from watching videos, instructionals, and it also comes from getting instruction from low-level instructors. Now, over the years, I have been fortunate enough to take some lessons from pros, okay? But the pros mostly teach me about strategy, about how to hit a ball, what I should do in certain situations. A lot of them have an assumption that when you come to them, you already know how to aim, okay? So, but aiming actually is something that is treated pretty lightly in a lot of the instructional material out there, and then mostly the aiming method that's taught is the ghost ball method because it's very easy to diagram. Everybody can understand it. You can look at it on a piece of paper and know exactly what's supposed to happen. So for that purpose, ghost ball is great. But in practice on the pool table, trying to use ghost ball all the time is actually a lot more difficult than it sounds like it should be. So what I like to use is I like to use a method where I aim using the balls on the table and the objects that are actually physically present. So I like to aim using center to edge, which means for me that even with a straight in shot, I start out with the center of the cue ball to the edge of the object ball, get my line, drop in on that line, and pivot right to center. Now you notice that my cue here as I pivoted is dead center. Center cue ball, center object ball, center pocket. Okay, but the way that I aim that is I started out just by looking at the center of the cue ball to the edge of the object ball. So all I did was drop in a little bit on that line with my cue pointed at the edge of the ball, and then I just did a slight pivot right to center cue ball, and as you see it takes me right to the spot, right to the center, and I'm there. Now, here's why that's important. That same system works here when I'm one ball off. Same thing, center to center, drop in, and I'm dead on the spot. Exactly where I would need to be for the ghost ball. Okay, let's go back to this position here, and let's test it. There's our ghost ball. Okay, coming from the cue ball. Coming from the cue ball, I would be aimed center to center with this training ball right on the edge of the pocket. So, now center to edge, drop right in, pivot over. Look where I'm aimed. I am dead on this ball. So I'm dead on the shot where I need to be, stroke straight through the ball. And there you go. Now look at my cue. My cue stops dead straight right through the ball. No body English. I don't have to pitch it in. I don't have to do anything funny to make the ball go in. Now, move that down. Let's move it down 4 balls off of center. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay? So now we're 4 positions away from center with a little bit more of a cut. Same thing. Center to edge, right? I don't have to imagine anything. I just drop in, pivot. Now I should be dead on the line. Okay? Now, let's go to a little bit more difficult shot. Let's go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 positions. So double the distance away from center ball. We're 8 balls away from dead straight in. Okay? Center to edge. Center to edge. Drop in. This line right here, now I'm just going to shoot straight down the line. Wow, I overcut it actually. Okay? Did you notice that I tried to body English that in because I wasn't sure. Now I'm going to shut up and shoot the shot. Okay? Once I get down, I'm going to be quiet. And shoot it. There you go. Okay, now let's try. I've got 2 balls left or 3 balls left. Let me show you where I feel this makes a really big difference. Now, this is 9 positions away. This is even lower, okay? Now we're below the angle. So this is straight across the table. Right here. Okay, so if I put the cue ball right there, I've got a moderate cut to the corner. When I start going below this line, now it starts to get more difficult. And this is where, for me personally, this is where ghost ball really, really fails me when I come to shots like this, because almost always in my life, I have overcut this shot or undercut it fat to the rail here. Okay, now the only times I make it is when I use body English to throw it in, and then I have no idea where the cue ball's going. So let's try this with center to edge. Now I am below the ball, so right now I am about 2 balls below the 8, cutting it to the corner. See how nicely that went in? And the thing about this is once you learn the system and you learn to trust it, then you can really, really focus on your execution. You can focus intently on delivering your cue straight through the ball as you're supposed to, as everybody teaches, and you don't have to worry about whether you're on the right line or not. Okay, so now I am about 3 balls below the object ball. Okay, same cut, but I'm lower. Wow, look at that. I cut it thin, but you see the way it was tracking? Right there on the ball? Now, a lot of times, even with this is where people say, well, don't you have to hit 1,000,000 balls to get good? Yeah, you do. Because even with an aiming system, this is still not an easy shot. And it's daunting. It looks tough. So you have to, especially if you're a player like me that hasn't had the benefit of being mentored by a champion and been on the road and seen every conceivable situation, for a guy like me, I have to quiet my inner thoughts and my demons about shots like this and focus on delivering the ball. So this is the perfect straight line. The reason I missed that ball is not because I'm not on the right aiming line. The reason I missed it is exactly the reason I told you about from the very beginning, where you get up on the shot and you throw the cue off. Okay? That's exactly the same reason why I miss the shot when it's hard down here, because I'm not, even though I've got the dead nuts aiming line, I still have a tendency to throw the cue a little bit. And also, getting back to the million balls, you also will learn, even though you've got the dead nuts aiming line here, you'll learn that, hey, if it's really thin or really thick, maybe you need to give a little bit extra or a little bit less on certain shots. And you'll learn that, but you'll learn it consciously. Third time's the charm. There we go. So once you start making those shots in games, now we're going to try one that's really tough. Last ball. Okay, this would be almost a 90-degree shot. I don't even think this is, for me it's not even possible even with an aiming system, but let's go back here. I'm 4 balls lower than the 13. Here, I don't have a protractor, so I don't know what the angle is. Let's see if I can make it. Can't even hit it. Okay, that's because I'm scared. Alright, so you see that's the toughest shot on there. And if that were a game, I probably would pass on that shot right there. Unless it was the absolute only option that I had. The other option would be from here, use the same system, center to edge, to bank it. And miss it. Well, it goes in that pocket. So, anyway, folks, that's my 15 balls. This is John Barton. I know that I still rambled a little bit, and I know it ended up at 30. I know we ended up at 30 minutes, but as this goes on, I'll try to make things shorter and shorter. But I hope that you understand a little bit more about aiming, about body English, throwing the ball in, throwing the ball off, and why it happens, and how that affects cue ball control. So thank you very much for watching, and remember, if you need a new cue case, head over to jbcases.com, and you can see all the cases we make. We have lines of cases from $100, less than $100, all the way up to an almost unlimited amount. So Sterling cue cases, GTF cases are all brands that we make, and you know, we're all about protecting your cue. And as a pool player, I just want to teach you the things, or show you the things that I think help you to play better pool. And I appreciate your time. Thank you. Bye-bye.